The girl in the alley rain fell hard that night, turning the streets of the alien city into rivers of light and shadow. Neon signs flickered above closed shops, their glow reflecting in the puddles. Most people had already gone home, but Eli was still out. He had just finished a long shift repairing cargo haulers at the port. His shoulders ached, his clothes were damp from the mist. And all he wanted was to reach his small apartment and sleep. He kept his head down, walking fast until he heard a sound so soft it could have been the wind. It was a cry, not loud, not sharp. Just a thin, trembling sound, like someone trying not to be heard. Eli stopped. The noise came again, this time clearer. He looked around. The street was empty except for a flickering lamp on the corner. Then he saw the narrow gap between two tall buildings. An alley, dark and wet, smelling faintly of metal and rot. Something inside moved. Curiosity battled with caution. The city wasn't safe for anyone who wandered into the wrong place, especially humans like him. But there was something in that sound, something that felt desperate. Eli stepped closer, peering into the shadows. That's when he saw her. A small figure sat against the wall, knees pulled to her chest, arms wrapped tight around them. She was trembling so badly he could see her shiver even from where he stood. Her skin was pale with a faint silver-blue glow, her hair plastered to her face by the rain. My two large eyes looked up at him, eyes that didn't belong to any human. They glowed faintly, and the glow pulsed weakly, like the last flickers of a dying light. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old. For a moment, Eli just stood there, unsure what to do. The rules here were strict. Humans were forbidden to interfere with alien miners without official clearance. The law said to call the city watch if you found one lost or injured. Breaking that rule could mean a fine, jail, or worse. He was about to speak when she whispered a single word, her voice so faint he almost missed it. "Papa." Eli froze. That word spoken in her trembling voice hit him harder than the rain ever could. He shook his head slowly. "I'm not your," but before he could finish, her small body tilted forward, and she almost collapsed. He caught her just in time, kneeling on the wet ground. She was cold, ice cold, and her thin clothes were soaked through. Up close, Eli could see faint bruises on her arms and a small cut near her temple. He glanced back toward the street. No one else was around. "Where are your parents?" he asked. She didn't answer. Instead, her tiny hands clutched at his coat like she was afraid he would leave her there. The smart thing would be to call the watch to let them handle it. But something about her grip, the way she clung to him like he was the only safe thing left in the world, made his chest tighten. Then a voice echoed from farther down the street. Harsh, male, speaking in a language Eli didn't understand. The tone was unmistakable. Someone was looking for her. The girl's glowing eyes widened in fear. She shook her head quickly, pressing herself against him as if trying to disappear into his coat. That decided it. "All right, kid," Eli muttered. "Let's get you out of here." He scooped her up. She was lighter than he expected, almost weightless. The glow in her skin pulsed again, weaker this time. She rested her head against his shoulder, her small breaths warm against his neck despite the cold. Eli stepped out of the alley just as a tall shadow appeared at the far end of the street. Whoever it was, they stopped when they saw him, but Eli didn't slow down. He turned the corner and kept walking until the figure was lost behind the maze of wet streets. By the time he reached his apartment building, the girl was half asleep in his arms. He didn't know what trouble he was inviting into his life, but he knew one thing. He couldn't have left her there, inside his small home. He placed her gently on the couch. Her small hand grabbed his sleeve before he could move away. "Don't go," she murmured. Eli sat beside her, unsure what to say. Rain tapped softly against the window. Somewhere in the city, someone was still looking for her. He didn't know who or why, but he felt it deep in his bones. This was only the beginning, and something told him. He had just crossed a line he could never uncross. Breaking the law, Yu sat in the dim light of his small apartment, staring at the sleeping girl on his couch. Her damp hair clung to her cheeks, and her breathing was shallow but steady. He had wrapped her in his only dry blanket, but she still seemed cold, her faint glow flickering now and then. He rubbed his face with both hands. What had he done? He knew the law. Every human on this planet knew the law. You didn't just pick up an alien child and take her home. You called the watch. You kept your distance, but she had called him Papa. And she had looked at him like he was the only thing between her and something terrible. The rain outside had eased, but the streets would still be slick. Somewhere out there, the man with the harsh voice was still looking. Eli thought about taking her to the city station in the morning, but his gut told him that would be a mistake. She wasn't lost, she was running, and if he gave her back, she'd end up right where she had escaped from. He decided to at least get her dry and fed before making any choice. In the kitchen, he warmed up some broth, the only thing soft enough for someone who looked that fragile. When the smell reached her, the girl stirred. Her eyes blinked open slowly, glowing faintly in the shadows. Eli carried the bowl over and set it in her lap. Careful, it's hot. She hesitated, then took a sip. Her hands were shaking so badly that he had to steady the bowl for her. "What's your name?" he asked gently. For a long moment, she didn't answer. Then, so quietly he almost didn't hear, she whispered, "Arya." He nodded. "All right, Arya, I'm Eli." Her gaze shifted toward the window, as if checking for something. Outside. The movement was small, but Eli noticed the fear in her eyes. "Was that man in the street looking for you?" he asked. She froze, her lips pressing together. She didn't need to answer. Her silence told him everything before he could ask. More, there was a sudden knock at the door. 3 sharp, heavy knocks. Eli's heart jumped. He put a finger to his lips, telling Arya to stay quiet. She clutched the blanket tighter around herself and slid lower on the couch. He walked to the door, keeping his steps slow. When he opened it, just a crack, a neighbor, an older alien. Merchant with a wrinkled face and eyes that never missed anything, stood there. "I saw you bring someone home," the merchant said in a low voice. "Be careful, human. That child's kind. They're under guardianship. The one who owns her will not let go. If he finds her here, you'll be in more trouble than you can imagine." Eli's grip on the door tightened. "Own her." The merchant shrugged. "Not my words. That's what they say, she's property. I'd return her before anyone else notices." And then, without waiting for a reply, the merchant left. Eli shut the door and leaned against it for a moment, his mind racing. Property. A child. He turned back toward the couch. Arya was watching him, wide-eyed, like she already knew what the merchant had said. He knelt beside her. "You're not property," he said firmly. Her lips trembled. "He will come for me." The way she said it, not if, but will, sent a chill through him. That night, Eli made a choice. He pulled out an old duffel bag from under his bed and began packing essentials, a change of clothes, tools, emergency food. He didn't know where they'd go yet, but he knew staying here wasn't an option. Around midnight, Arya woke from a nightmare. She clung to him, shaking, whispering a name he didn't recognize. He didn't ask, not yet. Her fall asleep again while he kept watch by the window far below in the shadow of the street lamps. He saw a tall figure standing still, looking up at his building. Even from a distance, Eli knew it was the man from the alley. The figure didn't move for a long time. Then, slowly, he turned and walked away. Eli's pulse was still pounding. He knew this was just the beginning and that the law wasn't the only thing he had broken tonight. The stranger who knocks morning came slowly, dragging a pale light across the city. The rain had stopped, but the streets outside Eli's window were still wet, the puddles reflecting the dull glow of neon. Signs. Eli had barely slept. He'd spent most of the night watching the shadows outside, making sure no one came near. Arya was curled up on his couch, still wrapped in his blanket, her soft breathing the only sound in the apartment. He made a pot of hot tea, trying to shake off the heavy tiredness pulling at his eyes. For a moment, things felt almost calm until there was a knock at the door. Not the slow, harmless knock of a neighbor. This one was firm, sharp, and deliberate. Eli's body tensed. He walked to the door quietly and peered through the small crack between the frame and the hinge. A tall alien stood there. He was dressed in a long black coat that dripped water onto the floor. His skin was a pale gray, with faint markings along his jawline. His eyes were narrow, and they didn't blink. Human, the stranger said, his voice smooth but cold. I'm looking for a missing child? Eli kept the door mostly closed. You have the wrong place. The man's gaze shifted slightly, as if scanning the air for movement. She's small, pale skin, hair like dark silk. She may be hurt. You must have seen her. Eli's mind raced. The man's description was exact. I told you, Eli said evenly. I haven't seen anyone like that. The stranger smiled. Faintly, but it wasn't a friendly smile. You're a mechanic at Dock 9, aren't you? You work late shifts? Eli didn't answer. That district has many accidents, the man continued, his voice dripping with a kind of mock sympathy. Be careful walking home. People disappear. The words weren't a warning, they were a threat. Before Eli could respond, a faint sound came from behind him. It was soft, barely a whisper, but in the quiet hallway it was loud enough. Eli, Arya's small voice. The stranger's eyes sharpened instantly. He took a step forward, and Eli's hand shot out, slamming the door shut before the man could see inside. From the other side, the stranger's voice came again, lower this time. Return her to me, human. You have no idea what you're keeping? In your home. There was silence. Then the sound of slow, measured footsteps fading away down the hall. Eli stayed still for several seconds before turning back to Arya. She was standing at the edge of the couch now, the blanket pulled around her feet. Her eyes were wide, her small hands gripping the fabric. That was him. She said softly, Yeah, Eli admitted, walking over. And he's not going to stop. Arya shook her head. He's not supposed to find me. Mama said to run and hide if he came. She said he would take me away forever. Eli crouched down to meet her gaze. Do you know why he's after you? She hesitated, biting her lip. He says I belong to him. I belong to Mama. The way she said it made Eli's chest ache. He wanted to ask where her mother was, but he could already guess from her trembling voice that the answer wouldn't be good. Listen, he said firmly. You're staying here for now, but we need to be smart. We can't let him catch you. Arya nodded, but Eli could see she didn't fully understand how dangerous this was. He pulled the duffel bag from under the table. Inside were the supplies he'd packed the night before. Food rations, extra clothes, and a small repair kit. That evening, Eli didn't turn on the lights. He kept the apartment dark, the curtains closed, and the front door locked. He had a bad feeling that the man in black would come back, and next time, he wouldn't just knock. Sure enough, just after sunset, there was a sound at the window. The faint scrape of metal against glass. Eli grabbed the old wrench from his workbench and moved silently toward it. He peered through the curtain and caught a glimpse of a shadow moving away. The window latch had been tested. They were being watched. When Eli turned back, Arya was clutching the blanket again, her eyes bright with fear. "He's here, isn't he?" Eli didn't lie. "Yeah, but he's not getting you. Not while I'm here." He didn't know if he could keep that promise, but he knew he had to try. And somewhere deep inside, Eli realized this wasn't just about breaking the law anymore. This was about choosing a side. The child's secret the city felt quieter than usual the next morning, but Eli didn't trust it. Quiet could mean safety, or it could mean a predator waiting. Arya sat at the small kitchen table, legs swinging above the floor, holding a steaming cup between her small hands. The heat seemed to help her, but Eli noticed the faint glow in her skin still flickered now and then, like a candle fighting wind. He sat across from her. "Arya," he said gently, "I need to understand why he's after you. I can't help you if I don't know." She stared into the cup, not meeting his eyes. "If I tell you, will you make me go back?" "No," Eli said firmly. "I'm not taking you back." That made her look up, eyes glowing faintly, searched his face as if trying to see if he meant it. "My mama," Arya began slowly. "She said I was born with something special. She called it the light. It's inside me." She touched her chest with one small hand. "It makes machines wake up. It makes sick things better. But it also makes people want to take me." Eli frowned. "The light? Like power?" She nodded. "Mama said it's old, from before the war. Some people think if they have me, they can make weapons, or live forever." Her voice wavered. "That man in black, he says my light belongs to him now." Eli leaned back, processing her words. It explained the flicker he'd seen in his workshop when she was near. It explained the way she seemed to make his old heater run hotter without touching it. And it explained why she was in so much danger. "Why didn't your mother hide you better?" Eli asked softly. "She tried," Arya whispered. "We moved all the time. But last time, she didn't make it." Her lips trembled, but she kept talking. "He came in the night. Mama told me to run and hide. I heard her fight. Then, I didn't hear her anymore." Eli felt something tighten in his chest. He'd suspected her mother was gone, but hearing it confirmed hit harder than he expected. Arya took a shaky breath. "I ran until I couldn't feel my legs. I thought maybe if I found someone who didn't know about the light, they wouldn't try to use me. Then I saw you." Her voice cracked on the last word, and Eli had to look away for a moment, his jaw tightening. Before he could answer, there was a faint hum from the corner of the room. One of his old repair drones, broken for years, suddenly lifted off the shelf, hovering in the air with a soft blue glow. Arya's eyes widened, and she pulled her hands back to her lap. The glow in her skin faded, and the drone dropped back onto the shelf with a metallic thud. Eli stared at it. "That was you, wasn't it?" She nodded reluctantly. "I didn't mean to. Just happens when I feel." She hesitated. "Safe." He rubbed a hand over his face. "Arya, do you realize what people would do if they knew? Not just to anyone. Governments, companies, warlords." She gave a tiny nod. "Mama said the light can save people, but most will use it to hurt others." A sudden knock at the door made them both jump. Eli froze, motioning for her to stay quiet. He approached the door slowly and looked through the peephole. No one was there. Then a slip of paper slid under the door. Eli picked it up carefully. In blocky letters, it read, "Return her by nightfall. Last chance. No name, no signature. Just a demand." He crushed the paper in his fist. Arya's small voice broke the silence. "He's close, isn't he?" "Yeah," Eli admitted, "which means we don't have much time." He went to his workbench and pulled out a battered communicator. It wasn't connected to any public network, just a few private frequencies. He scrolled through until he found the code for an old friend, Jace, a smuggler who owed him a big favor. When Jace answered, his voice was rough with sleep. "Eli, haven't heard from you in years. What's wrong? Need a pickup, Eli?" Said quickly. "Tonight, 2 passengers." Jace whistled softly. "Passengers, not cargo? You in trouble?" "Yeah," Eli said. "The kind that follows you if you stay too long." There was a pause on the line. "All right. Docks at midnight. But if you're bringing heat, make sure you're not followed." The line went dead. Eli turned back to Arya. "We're leaving tonight. Pack what you can carry. Only the essentials." She nodded, but he could see the fear in her eyes. They spent the rest of the day in silence, the tension in the air heavy. Eli double-checked the bag, making sure they had food, water, and enough tools to survive if Jace's ship failed. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the city lights flickered on, bathing the streets in neon glow. Arya stood by the window, staring out at the night. "Eli," she said softly. "Yeah. Thank you for not giving me back." He met her gaze, and for the first time since finding her, she smiled just a little. It was a fragile thing, that smile, but it was enough to make Eli know he couldn't fail her. Running out of time night fell over the city like a curtain of shadows. Neon signs flickered in the rain-slick streets, painting the puddles in streaks of red and blue. Eli kept the apartment dark, the curtains drawn, and his ears tuned for any sound out of place. The paper with the threat, "Return her by nightfall. Last chance," sat crumpled on the table. Nightfall had passed. That meant the man in black could come at any moment. Arya was in the bedroom, sitting cross-legged on the floor, her small bag already packed. She was quiet, but her glowing eyes followed every movement Eli made, like she was memorizing his every step in case they got separated. Eli double-checked his duffel bag, food rations, water, his toolkit, a compact energy cell, and an old blaster with only 3 shots left. "Not much, but better than nothing. We'll leave in 10 minutes, he told her. She gave a small nod, her lips pressed together like she was holding back something she wanted to say. "What is it?" he asked. Her voice was almost a whisper. "If he catches me, don't let him keep me alive." The words made Eli stop cold. "Don't say that," he said sharply. "I mean it," Arya replied, looking straight at him. "If he takes me, he'll use the light. People will die. Whole cities will die." Eli crouched down in front of her, gripping her shoulders gently. "Arya, I'm not going to let him take you. You hear me? Not while I'm breathing." Something in his voice made her believe him, because she nodded without arguing again. They slipped out of the apartment through the back stairwell, avoiding the main hall. The stairwell was narrow, damp, and smelled of rust, but it led them out into a maze of side streets. Eli kept Arya close, one hand on her shoulder as they moved toward the docks. The air was cold, and the city felt too quiet. No street vendors, no music from the bars. It was like everyone knew something dangerous was out tonight. Halfway there, Eli spotted a security drone hovering at the corner. It turned slowly, scanning, with a red beam. He pulled Arya into the shadows just in time. She held her breath, her small hand gripping his. The drone lingered for a moment, then drifted away. "That's not good," Eli muttered. "If the city's security is out, he's probably using them to find us." They kept moving, sticking to narrow alleys and unlit walkways. Every time Eli thought they were alone, he'd catch a shadow moving just a little too smoothly in the distance. When they reached the bridge leading to the industrial quarter, Arya froze. "He's here," she whispered. Eli scanned the shadows. On the far side of the bridge, a tall figure stepped into view. The man in black. His coat swayed in the wind, and even from here, Eli could see the faint glint of his eyes. The man didn't rush. He just started walking. Toward them, slow and steady, like a predator that knew its prey couldn't escape. Eli's grip on Aria's hand tightened. "Run," he said. They sprinted across the bridge, the sound of their footsteps echoing on the metal. Behind them, the man's pace quickened. Halfway across, a sharp, electric hum filled the air. 2 drones shot up from below the bridge, blocking their path. Red targeting beams flashed across Eli's chest. "Stay behind me," Eli shouted. He pulled the blaster from his bag and fired. The first shot hit one drone, sending it spinning into the water below. The second drone darted to the side, but Eli's second shot grazed its sensor, blinding it. It veered off into the night. Only one shot left. The man in black was almost at the bridge now. His voice carried over the wind. "Eli, this is your last chance. Give her to me, and I'll let you live." Eli didn't slow. "You'll have to kill me first." "That," the man replied calmly, "can be arranged." They cleared the bridge and ducked into a side street, weaving through crates and loading platforms until they reached Dock 12. Jace's small transport ship was hidden under a tarp at the far end, its engines already humming faintly. Jace stepped out from behind a stack of cargo. "Took you long enough." He stopped when he saw Arya. "By the stars, she's just a kid." "No time," Eli said, pushing Arya toward the ship. "We've got company." As if on cue, a blaster shot sizzled past Eli's head, scorching the crate beside him. The man in black emerged from the shadows, moving faster now, his coat flowing behind him like smoke. "Go," Keeley shouted. Jic grabbed Arya and pulled her into the ship. Keeley fired his last shot, forcing the man to duck behind a stack of barrels. He didn't wait to see if it hit. He sprinted up the ramp and slammed the hatch shut. Jace didn't need to be told twice. The engines roared, and the ship lifted off the dock just as another shot struck the hull. Through the small rear viewport, Eli saw the man in black watching them rise into the sky, his expression calm to calm, as if he already knew this wasn't over. Eli turned away from the window. His heart was still pounding, but Arya was safe. For now, but in the back of his mind, he knew the truth. The man in black would follow them across the stars if he had to. And time was running out. The hum of the ship's engines filled the cramped cabin, a low vibration that pulsed through the metal walls. Outside, the city lights shrank to glowing specks. Swallowed by the darkness of the upper atmosphere, Eli sat strapped into the co-pilot's seat, his knuckles white against the armrests. Beside him, Jace's hands moved quickly over the controls, adjusting speed and direction. In the rear cabin, Arya was curled into the corner, still clutching her small bag like it was a lifeline. "We clear?" Eli asked, keeping his eyes on the radar screen. "For now," Jace replied, his voice tight. "But you should have told me who you were running from before you got on my ship." "You wouldn't have come," Eli said. "You're right," Jace muttered, flipping a switch. "And I would have slept better." The ship shuddered as they broke through the last layer of atmosphere. Beyond the windows, the black expanse of space stretched endlessly, dotted with distant stars. It should have felt like freedom. It didn't. A sudden sharp tone from the console made Jace curse under his breath. "We've got a tail." Eli's stomach dropped. Already, Jace tapped the screen, enlarging the image. A sleek black vessel was rising from the planet's surface, moving fast. Too fast. "That's not a patrol ship," Jace said grimly. "That's a hunter." The comm system crackled to life, and a smooth, cold voice filled the cabin. "Eli, running was a mistake." The man in black, a chill went down Eli's spine. "How the hell did he track her?" Jace cut in, scanning the controls. "He must have planted one on you. Or the kid." Eli's eyes flicked to Arya. She was staring at the console, her glow faint but steady. "It's not me," she said quickly, then hesitated. At least, I don't think so. Jace jerked the controls, throwing the ship into a hard turn. The stars outside streaked as the vessel banked sharply. The pursuing ship followed without hesitation. "Can you outrun him?" Eli asked. "Not in a straight race," Jace said, his jaw tightening. "He's faster, but I can lose him in the debris field near Station 73F. We make it that far." The black ship fired. A pulse of red energy streaked past their hull, close enough to rattle the panels. Arya let out a small gasp. Eli turned to her. "Stay down. Hold on to something." She nodded and ducked behind the co-pilot's seat. Another shot slammed into their rear shields. The lights in the cabin flickered. "Shields at 60%, Jace muttered. "If he hits us like that again, we're not going to just fly," Eli snapped. The debris field loomed ahead, a dense cluster of broken satellites, asteroid fragments, and the skeletal remains of old warships. It was the kind of place you avoided unless you had no choice. One wrong move, and you tear your ship apart. Jace dove into the field at full throttle, weaving between jagged hunks of twisted metal. The black ship followed, matching every move. "He's good," Jace said through clenched teeth. Eli unstrapped and moved to the rear. He dug through his bag until he found the small repair drone Arya had accidentally activated back in the apartment. He set it on the floor in front of her. "Can you do it again?" he asked. Her brow furrowed. "Do what?" "Wake it up. Make it work like before." "But this time, I need it to carry something." She hesitated, then nodded. Her small hands cupped around the drone. The faint glow in her skin brightened, and the drone's lights flickered on. It floated into the air, humming softly. Eli pulled a flare charge from his bag and attached it to the drone's underside. "Jace!" he shouted, toward the cockpit. "On my mark, cut power for 2 seconds." Jace didn't even ask why. "Got it?" Eli whispered to Arya. "Send it toward him when I say." She nodded, eyes fixed on the glowing machine. The black ship was almost on them now, its weapons charging for another shot. "Now," Eli yelled. Jace cut the power. The ship went dark, floating dead in space for a breathless moment. Arya sent the drone shooting out through the rear hatch. The black ship, seeing a heat source, locked on and fired. The blast hit the drone dead on, detonating the flare in a brilliant flash. The explosion blinded the hunter's sensors for just a few seconds, but it was enough. Jace slammed the engines back on and dove deeper into the debris field, vanishing behind a massive asteroid fragment. When the radar screen cleared, the black ship was nowhere in sight. Eli sank into the co-pilot's seat, breathing hard. Arya climbed up beside him, her eyes still glowing faintly. "You did good, kid," Eli said. But he didn't miss the shadow in her expression. "He'll find us again," she murmured. Eli didn't argue. She was right. This wasn't over. It had only just begun. One chance at love. The stars drifted slowly past the viewport as Jace's ship cruised in the dark. The debris field was far behind them now, but no one relaxed. Every shadow outside still felt like it could hide the black ship. Eli sat in the co-pilot's chair, his eyes scanning the radar. Arya sat across from him in the jump seat, wrapped in a blanket. She hadn't said much since the chase. Her small hands gripped the fabric so tightly her knuckles were pale. Jace came in from the cockpit's side console. "We've got a few hours before we hit the safe zone near the free colonies," he said. "Once we're in their space, he won't be able to touch us without starting a war." Eli nodded, but didn't let his guard down. "And if he follows us?" Jace gave him a look. "Then you better hope you can keep running, because I'm not dying for your mess." Before Eli could reply, Arya spoke softly. "You're not going to leave me there, right?" Eli turned to her. "What do you mean?" "The free colonies," she said, her voice trembling. "If you leave me there, they'll try to take the light too. They'll say it's to keep people safe, but they'll just use me. Eli's jaw tightened. No one's taking you anywhere. She looked at him for a long moment, like she was searching his face for a crack in his promise. Then she gave a small nod, but he could still see the fear behind her eyes. Hours passed in tense silence. The hum of the engines became almost hypnotic, and Eli found himself staring out into the dark until movement caught his eye. A faint blip appeared on the radar far away, but moving steadily toward them. "Tell me that's not him, Eli," muttered JAC. Checked the readings. His face went grim. "It's him." The cold voice came over the comm a moment later, smooth as glass. "You can run to the edge of the galaxy, Eli. I will still find you. The light belongs to me." Eli muted the comm before Arya could hear more. He turned to Jace. "Push the engines. We get to the colonies before he gets to us." Jace shook his head. "We'll burn out the drive if I push it that hard." "Then?" "Burn it," Eli snapped. Jace swore under his breath, but shoved the throttle forward. The hum of the engines deepened into a roar, and the ship surged ahead. The chase was silent, but relentless. The black ship never fell far behind, matching every maneuver. It wasn't firing, not yet. But Eli knew the man in black was just waiting for the perfect shot. Arya leaned forward in her seat. "Eli," she said softly, "I can stop him." Eli turned sharply. "No, absolutely not." "I can," she insisted. "Mama told me the light could hurt, not just heal, if I pushed it hard enough. I could overload his ship, but it might hurt me too." "That's not an option," Eli said firmly. "You're not trading your life for ours." "But if I don't, he'll never stop," she whispered. Eli knelt in front of her, his voice low but steady. "Arya, listen to me. You've lost enough. You're not losing yourself too. We're getting out of this together." Something in his tone seemed to reach her. She blinked quickly, fighting back tears, and nodded. The Free Colony's defense perimeter came into view ahead, a glowing ring of stations and satellites. But before they could cross into its protection, the black ship finally made its move. It surged forward, cutting across their path, and a tractor beam shot out. Locking onto their hull, alarms screamed through the cabin as the ship shuddered under the pull. "He's reeling us in," Jace shouted, wrestling with the controls. "We can't break free." Eli looked at Arya. "Stay here." He grabbed the blaster still empty from the bridge fight and strode to the rear hatch. Opening it to space wasn't an option, but there was one risky trick left. He reached into the storage compartment and pulled out the last emergency flare charge. "Arya," he called back. "One more time. Wake up the drone." She appeared at his side almost instantly, her glow intensifying as she cupped the broken drone in her hands. Its lights flickered, then brightened into a steady hum. Eli strapped the flare to its shell. "Send it straight into his tractor emitter." She nodded, her eyes glowing brighter, and released the drone into the void. The hunter's ship didn't notice the tiny object until it was too late. The flare detonated in a blinding flash, shorting the beam's power for just a few seconds. It was all Jace needed. The engines roared, and the ship shot forward. Crossing into the colony's defense perimeter, the black ship slowed, then turned away. Eli collapsed into the co-pilot's seat, breathing hard. Arya climbed up beside him, her small hand finding his. "You kept me safe," she said quietly. Eli looked down at her and squeezed her hand gently. "We kept each other safe." For the first time since he'd met her in that dark alley, Arya smiled without fear. It was small, but it was real. In that moment, Eli knew that this wasn't just about running anymore. It wasn't even just about protecting her. Somewhere along the way, this little girl had become his family. One human, one child, and one chance at love the kind that was worth crossing the stars to protect.